Welcome to the Spurs 9501 podcast. From Kane to the Lane, the final say on all things Tottenham.
Everybody, welcome back to the Spurs 9501 podcast. This is Ray in London. I've got two guests with the US. We're just going to spend some time talking about the news, the final news that we've actually appointed a real manager. I still can't believe it. I'm in shock. So please introduce yourself, gentlemen.
So I'm in the middle. I'm Cam from Florida, sunny Florida.
Here's Jam from Connecticut. Good to be here.
Welcome back, guys. It's been a while since our fans have seen you, so it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
So let's have a quick chat about Nuno Espirito Santo. I'm going to hand over to you, Cam. I think you've done some work on his stats and his records and stuff like that. You want to share that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's very interesting that we've got Mourinho Mark II, and as many people would say, we got rid of the father. Now we got the wayward son, whose record is nowhere near as good as his dad's. We can only laugh, can't we? Because
if you don't laugh, you cry. Basically,
you cry. So obviously, cut his mustard, so to speak, under Mourinho as his goalkeeper at Porto. We all know that, and I'm going to let Jam speak a bit later on about where he was before in his history. What I want to really talk about, Ray, is we brought in Nuno Espirito Santos.
Just a quick one, Cam. Are you going to cover his stats, and then we can go about your thoughts on whether he should?
Yeah, I'm going to cover some of his stats that I think are important to us.
Okay.
The thing that got me about Nuno is he's pretty successful, you would say, in a team like Wolves, because Wolves were a yo-yo team, but spent more time probably out of the Premier League than they have in it, and he's made them a consistent Premier League contenders, not dissimilar to what the way that Pochettino did at Southampton. But we've got to remember that Nuno spent £330 million in his 4 seasons at Wolves. I know that to everybody has got to be shocking. It's a hell of a figure. He's done some astute sales. One of his best sales.
Is that a net spend or is that just total spend?
That's a total spend.
Oh, total spend. Okay.
I've been looking for a net spend. I find it a bit hard to find. I think the net spend is around about 170 million.
Okay.
But they're crediting him with taking that net spend, improving the players, and hence these are all sort of figures that accountants like to throw around and say that he's increased the value of the players. So now the team's worth 70 million more from his net spend than what it was before he came. So that would be seen as a potential success. However, one of his big players that he sold that comes into that is Matt Doherty to us, and obviously Jota to Liverpool. But I think 330 million over 4 seasons works out to, I think, 10.8 million per player in his team, which is, I think, a lot of money. The only way he could get anywhere near that here would be by selling Harry Kane. Otherwise, there wasn't much chance. A lot has been said. Moving on from that, I mean, that's, I think, a big thing for us in terms of Tottenham. What success did that buy? That 330 million? That's sort of like Manchester City money, isn't it? Man United money. Well, it bought them 2 top 7 positions, and last season they finished on 13. He did win the Championship, but that's the only trophy I believe that Nuno has won. He was runner-up at Porto in the 2016-2017 season. He also was made top 4 with Valencia, so they got into the Champions League. So that in itself was probably his best achievement. Quarter-finalist in the Europa League with Wolves, you probably all remember. I think the other stat really to hit you with, Ray, is the style of play. And if you look at the pressing data for 2021, the Wolves had the worst pressing record of any team in the Premier League. They were at the bottom. Well, if you think that Liverpool were at the top with nearly 700 presses, Wolves were at 362, only slightly above Tottenham. Below Tottenham was West Brom, Everton, Palace, West Ham and Newcastle, and Wolves were the lowest press. So that gives you an idea about his style of play and what he does. I think the only thing I'm going to finish off, because I know Jam wants to come in, is in the Premier League, his win rate 38%. I believe Mourinho's was above 55%. I believe any top 4 managers got to be with around close to 58 to 60% to maintain a top 4 position. 38% is not a top four position. He's lost 39 games, played 114 games, won 43, drawn 32, and lost 39. All of those were with Wolves. So you could argue that that's not a very good record, but that's what we signed. So I'll leave it there. Jamie, you want to talk about the history? Unless you want to come back, Ray.
No, I was just going to say that's really good. And if he's at 38% now, and we couldn't expect him to increase, a 10% increase is just, it's not going to happen. So even if he's 4 or 5% increase, he's only getting him to 43%, which is not going to be good enough for top four, I think. Yeah. Go ahead, Jam.
So first of all, I'm happy we have finally got a manager. It's been long enough. It's been way too long. I don't understand why this appointment wasn't made within a week of the season ending. Is pretty simple. If that's where we're going to end up, it's an easy choice. At the end of the day, it's one that I'm sure a lot of fans are going to not be as happy about. But as we have seen throughout the last couple of weeks, there were some much worse choices. So glad it's not Gattuso. Is where I'm at. As far as Nuno's history and his managerial career goes, I feel like it could be exciting. I think it could be it's not like the most exciting appointment we could have made, but there's room for optimism. There's room for him to grow and improve. And I don't think looking back on his managerial win percentage is going to be a fair reflection of what he can achieve. Winning the championship is not easy. Getting promoted is hard, and then staying in it is even harder. And he's more than made Wolves, competitive. They're not fighting relegation. They haven't fought relegation since they've been back up. So I'm trying to be optimistic about it. I don't want to focus on his match percent win rate. What I think is interesting though is his style of play. I think that's an interesting choice. I think that's something Levy was really trying to move away from. But it seems that we're back in a defensive mindset, or at least it seems defensive, because we know that he likes to play with 3 at the back. I say give it a go. Why not? We all know we need our defense to be reshaped entirely, and it looks like from the news that we're getting, we're looking at defenders heavily. So that's maybe hopefully a good sign. Means Eric Dyer won't be there next season. Hopefully Sanchez won't be our main striker alongside anyone we buy. Defender, I'm sorry. But you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Nuno has a lot to offer, and I think he's hungry to prove himself, and I think this is a good step up for him. I'm happy with the appointment is what I'm saying. His history as a manager, so he retired at Porto. He went on to become the goalkeeping coach for like a season. He then got his first big job at Rio Ave, not a big team, but it's a lower league Portuguese team. He then went on to Valencia, which everyone knows Valencia, big team, probably very similar to us in terms of their position in La Liga. And he did well. He got them into the top 4. That's a huge achievement. He only stayed there for a season. I believe he resigned, and then went to Porto for not even a full season at Porto. And then he got hired at Wolves. So he's not had a super experienced managerial career, but he's been at some big clubs, going to Valencia, going at Porto, and then bringing Wolves into the Premier League. It's a good job he's done. I don't know what to tell you about Wolves last season. They capitulated after they lost their star man, and that's going to happen to anyone. And I'm sure that experience is going to come in handy once we lose Harry Kane at some point when eventually that's announced. So, what does the future hold for Tottenham with Nuno? I think top 4 is going to be a big aspiration. I don't see it happening right away. I think Nuno is going to be a long-term project, not a long-term project, a stopgap project for when either he's going to succeed and do well and get another contract extension for another 2 or 3 years, or he's going to steady the boat. He's going to help Paratici build a steady team, because we know Paratici is the long-term project here. He's the one that's going to be here for 10 years, 15 years. So you hope. And you never know. That's what he did at Juventus. He was there long term, and clearly this is what Levy wants. Levy wants to build a foundation where he wants to be able to give the footballing part of the work to somebody else. And I hope you're all in agreement with me. We want a long-term director of football, someone who's not just here for one manager to the next manager, someone who's here for a full-term, long-term plan, which is what should have happened when Pochettino came in, or once he saw some success with Pochettino. It should have been a longer-term plan, which there hasn't been. It's hard to defend Levy in any way because he's just the worst. But let's hope that there is a plan at the end of the day. That's all I can say. I'm going to leave it at that.
Jam, excellent. I mean, I'd just like to counter some of the points you made. First point you made is, why didn't he get appointed straight at the end of the season? Well, the simple answer to that was, he's not the first choice. He's not even the second choice. He's not the third choice. He's probably the seventh or eighth choice. And I think it got to the stage where, in desperation, they had to actually appoint somebody. The second thing is, he's only been given a 2-year contract. How can you build a project in 2 years? It takes the first season to get to know everybody and all that. I mean, Cam will agree with 3 to 5 years is what you need to build a project, to build a dynasty, to build a legacy. So why is he only been given a 2-year contract? And thirdly, I mean, he's been fired by Wolves. They say left by mutual consent, but he was basically fired because, he didn't have a really good season. They were flirting with relegation at one point, but obviously they didn't obviously get relegated. I mean, I'm going to back him 100% because he's our manager, and we should do that. But I'm totally underwhelmed by this appointment. I'm totally underwhelmed. I don't think he's an elite manager at all. But then that's probably the level we're at. We're not. People don't want. Elite managers won't come to us. Conte didn't come. The other guy, whatever his name is, I can't remember. They went to Bayern Munich. All these guys just didn't want to come because we're just a shambles, really. So I'm sorry to put a damn on it. I want him to succeed as well. I definitely want him to succeed. But I really think it's going to finish in tears again. He's going to struggle, get fired, and then somebody else is going to come in. This is a desperation appointment as far as I see it. What do you think, Cam?
I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and I think that the Paratici's position in this is going to be really interesting. I mean, so is the agent's interest, Jorge Mendes. If you think about it, Nuno was actually his first client, so they're very, very close. And there are going to be a lot of players he's going to bring in. If you look at all the players that Nuno signed when he was at Wolves, I mean, there's quite some impressive players there. You really do. What worries me, Ray, more than anything else, I want to ask you both this question. He signed Fabio Silva for £36 million from Porto, supposed to be the next wonder kid. Didn't really deliver. Raul Jimenez, Nelson Semedo from Barcelona, Johnny Otto from Atletico Madrid, Adama Traore, as we know, a fast winger, Daniel Podence, Rui Patricio in goal, Ruben Neves, defensive midfield, Pedro Neto on the left, Diogo Jota, Dendonka, Willy Bowley. I mean, you've got some names there that you're all familiar with and know are really good. And I would believe with a team like that you would have expected them to hit top four. He had Moutinho providing, who did so well for Wolves, probably one of their best players last season, even at his age, that he was in the Portuguese team, which is a hard team to get into. So my question to you is this. With all that talent that he had, with all those great players that he signed, he couldn't get the best out of that young Fabio Silva because he was hopeless. He had some very big names there, especially Traore comes to mind. Never had the finish, but the pace and the strength that he's got, second to none in the Premier League, I would believe. And the guys that he's got, with Semedo on the right and the left, the players that he's got, they have some pretty big names there. And I know that Jimenez was injured, but you can't just say because one of your key players was injured, you drop, 6.7 positions in the Premier League. So my biggest concern is Wolves did back him. They did give him the big money. He did bring in who he wanted to. And he didn't deliver. He didn't deliver because the names that I've just hit out to you that were in that Wolves team that Nuno put forward, I don't believe he got the best out of. I think there were some fantastic names there, fantastic players I wouldn't mind seeing at Spurs. But if he couldn't get the best out of them at Wolves, how is he going to get the best out of them at Spurs? I've also heard a nasty rumour that, he's going to build a team around Matt Doherty. So...
I know you're winding us up now.
That would really be a... I should tell you everything, shouldn't it?
I was told that he was brought in to bring the best out of Matt Doherty. Like Tuchel was brought in to bring the best out of Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. They hired him to get the best out of Matt Doherty. That's what I was told. Right. But joking aside, I think you're being a bit harsh there, Cam. I think he's coming up from the Championship to get seventh, to get, Europa League qualification. I think that was the aspiration of Wolves, to be in the Europa League. They didn't really think they could get in top four. So I think he's achieved that. But again, he doesn't know, he's not been in the top four before. I would be interested to see what his record is against the top six. I don't know what that is, but As again, I say it's a desperation appointment. I hope he's successful, and he's not going to get the money that he got at Wolves at Tottenham. You know what Daniel Levy's like, so he's not going to get 300 million to spend. So what's he going to do? I mean, with this, Mourinho and Pochettino couldn't do anything with this squad. So we can't expect now Nuno to come in and do something with this squad. Unless he gets new players, he's going to fail just like the others did. Jam?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. You can't beat this squad. This squad is not built to do anything. They're stagnant. We need more than half of this team replaced, and that's just it needs to happen. But I think the key thing with all the names that you did say is that none of those are world beaters, in my opinion. Individually, I don't think any one of those players walk into any of the elite teams in the world right now. But they're all very decent players. You know, I would take a lot of them as squad players. I take a lot of them as first team players in our team, and I think that's important. Having a manager who can identify good players. You know, just because they're not the best, the most elite. Like, look at Diego Jota. He's a very good player. He doesn't walk into that Liverpool team. He struggles to get into that Liverpool team, I say.
He was there in the last.
He was there a lot.
He was there because they needed him because of injuries.
Yeah, but the thing is,
he was bought to be in like a second string, third, a squad player, which he's a very decent player. And like I said, a lot of those Wolves players would be very good squad players at a lot of top clubs. But I wouldn't say even any of those. Maybe Motta in his what's his name? Motta in his heyday. No, Moutinho in his heyday was an excellent player, but he's like 33 now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cam, I wanted to ask you: is Fabio Paratici? I mean, his actual I don't know. I mean, his judgment is at call now. If he's going to go, initially he wanted Conte, then he wanted Fonseca, then he wanted Gattuso. Now all of a sudden we were told that Nuno is always his first choice. I mean, something's wrong. Not the lights. He's on there, but the light's not on. I think something wrong with Paratici. But my question to you, Cam, is who's the real kingmaker at Tottenham now? Is it Jorg Mendes now because he controls Paratici, Nuno, and potentially the players they bring in is going to be through Mendes? Is he really the kingmaker now?
I think so. I believe that must be the case because Nuno, Paratici, Mendes, there is a triangle there. And I believe that desperation must have hit Daniel Levy so hard that he's given over some power, at least to Paratici. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how long he'll be allowed that to give. What I would say is one thing, though, Ray, which is really important, and that is I don't think the 2-year contract is a problem because if he does well, they'll give him more years. But it also allows us to get out. The 3-year contract hanging around Mourinho's neck, hanging around our neck from Mourinho, was, £45 million worth of contract. And I don't think they could afford to make that kind of mistake again. And probably that's one of the reasons why Conte didn't take it, because they probably weren't offering him that kind of that length of contract and that money. But
let me ask you a question, Cam, before you just following on from that. Rumours were that Crystal Palace were interested in him, Everton were interested in him, but they pulled out. They said, no, we're not going to go with this guy. So why is he not good enough for them but good enough for us? Can you answer that?
More I've read is that he pulled out of Palace because Paratici probably had a word in his ear that he was going to get a chance at Spurs. And in relation to Everton probably made a very astute appointment with Benitez. I mean, that's something maybe we should have been looking at ourselves if we were going to be going down that road. Because, I mean, Benitez has got the cup experience and he's won stuff.
He's a winner.
I mean, the problem with what we do again at Tottenham is that's why he fits in so well. I mean, apart from winning the championship, Nuno has won nothing. And Nuno's cup record in the FA Cup, the League Cup, apart from the Europa League quarterfinals, has been non-existent, really. So
going back to last season or the last couple of seasons, I've never seen a Wolves game where I've said, wow, that's blown me away. The type of football they're playing or the way they're playing, wow, that's amazing. I've seen some incredibly dire draws, like with Leicester 0-0 and some other. It was absolutely disgraceful, the performance, not even trying to win the game or anything like that. If that's the type of thing he's going to bring, then God help us.
Well, I think Mourinho would be proud, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So is Mourinho 2.0?
I mean, I think, yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, he's his wayward child. Let's come back to haunt us. The interesting thing is, I mean, it looks like he could be my dad, but he's only 47 years old. So he's got...
Let's not go personal about him now, but Jam, do you actually think he needs obviously he needs new players. If he doesn't get the new players, like we agreed this on previous podcasts, people that need to go: Dyer, Winks, Sissoko, Aurier, Sanchez. These guys need to be out of this club as soon as possible. Doherty, but it's not going to go now. Doherty's there for life.
Building a team around
players
Doherty.
need to go now, Jam. If they don't go, what's going to happen with Nuno? He can't do anything with them. Can he? Just give me your thoughts on that.
I really don't know. I don't know what to say. It's going to be it's worrying both ways because, like you're saying, if he's going to bring in players and our team's just going to be controlled by the agents of these players, that's not what I want either. I'd rather keep Eric Dyer if we're just going to have a team that's fully managed by Jorge Mendes, and deciding what's going to happen in our dressing room based on who their agent is crazy. So if we can't buy new players and we're stuck with the ones we have, I think we're all in for a really rough season. I just don't see it happening though. We got to sell. I mean, they got to be bored themselves. They need to go. They need. Who wants to be doing this? Who wants to do that season again? That was an awful season, not just for us as fans, as for them as players.
If we look at Wolves, I mean, they got some, like Cam said, some really dud players like Fabio Silva, Nelson Semedo. Barcelona don't let good players go. He's absolutely useless. He got dropped from the Portugal team as well. He's no good. But they've got some really good nets like Pedro Neto's really good, João Matinho, Ruben Neves. I think Podence is a really good player. If he can attract,
Dendoncker.
Dendonker's Belgian though, but he's not Portuguese. But I think, does this mean that Eric Dyer is safe now because he speaks Portuguese? Is he going to be okay now?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's what they're going to build it around. But we're going to build around Dyer and Doherty, the team. I mean, you raise a really good point, both of you, because what are the aspirations when you appoint someone like Nuno? What are you saying to the world, and what are you saying to the fans? Are you saying we think he could get us back into the top four? Or are you saying we're comfortable at 7 or 8? Every analysis, I know these are only analyses, but they do run these things, the Football Manager, about with a new manager and potentially a couple of signings and sellings, where we would end up. And I was reading one today by Football Manager, and they reckon we'll be 8th or 9th with a very poor season, less points than we had by about maybe 5 or 6 less points than we had this season. So the question is why did we let Mourinho go? If we were going to sign somebody who's going to do more of the same, we might as well have kept him and give him another season to see if he could turn it around.
And the answer to that question is that they thought they could get who they wanted. They thought they could get Brendan Rodgers. They thought they could get one of these other guys, and they couldn't get it. So this is a desperation appointment.
So we got Mourinho. We go back.
Pre-season is starting on Monday. Imagine nobody being charged. This is why they had to get it done now. I think Levy pushed into a corner. I don't think Levy is 100% behind this.
But let me ask you guys a simple question. Now that you know that Nuno Espirito Santos is our new manager, would you have been happy just to let Ryan Mason carry on instead?
Let me answer that, and then I'll let Jam go. If Ryan Mason is a stopgap until we get the right person, and for a maximum of 5 or 6 games, yes, I'll be okay with that. But if it was any more than that, no, because Ryan Mason is not the right guy for this job. Jam?
I exactly as well. You put it really well. A stopgap. If we knew we were closing up something and it was like, all right, we're going to finish up a deal in for a top manager, then yeah, whatever. But we need someone who has real experience managing a team of this level. He's still a Premier League manager. At the end of the day, he is a manager, and that's what we needed. And that's that was
the Premier League manager.
But that was the resume. That was the criteria at this point where we got to. We need a manager.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to come to you now, Jam. Can you see Nuno tactically outwitting people like Pep Guardiola, Thomas Tuchel, maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Can he tactically outwit these guys or not? Tell me.
I'm not going to put that on beyond him because I know, as a Tottenham fan, every time we came across Wolves, though they may not have been the most entertaining team, I was concerned we could easily drop points, and we have easily dropped points against them in the last couple of seasons, as have other top teams. I have friends of other clubs, and they're coming up against Wolves. It's like, oh, that's a tricky fixture. It's going to be tough. They're going to play fast. They're going to play one way, and it's not going to be easy for you to score. You're going to have to break them down, and if you don't break them down, they're going to counter on you. And
But
I give him a chance, man. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying he can absolutely.
He's going to get a chance because he's
the
manager.
He's got no
Jam.
But what I would say, I mean, Jam makes a very good point, though, about the way that Wolves did play. I mean, we may not have liked, I think in the first season that they played, we did like the way they played. Second, we could see the deterioration over the 3 seasons that Nuno was there. But the first season when they came up, they played well, as newly promoted teams do, because there's a factor, that an unknown factor about how their players are going to perform, and they sort of like play out of their skin, stay in the Premier League. So there was a bit of that. But the other thing is, he did build a team that could defend and that could run forward and play the style of play that he likes to play. We all know that this team that we've got at Spurs can't do that. We know that we can't sit back and defend and then break out on the counter unless Son is playing at his 120% capability, which he can't do week in, week out. We just can't do that. We don't have the players like that. So I think if he's going to come here with that mentality, he's going to fail with this team. Can you get rid of most of the team? Well, we've been hearing, Ray, for a long time that all these players are going to be leaving. The only 2 that have left, as far as I know, is Danny Rose and Juan Foyth. I haven't seen anyone else leave us yet. So where does that leave us? I really don't know.
Yep. No, I understand that. Now, interesting point that you guys might know. Connor Cody was interviewed, and initially they were playing in the back 3. And Connor Cody, they had to play in the back 4. And Connor Cody actually said, I've never played in a back 4. I don't know how to play in a back 4. So this is why they had a lot of issues. So the first thing is, the first season you come up into the Premiership, a lot of teams don't know about how you play and all that. So you seem to have a good season the first season. Second season syndrome comes in. People work out the way you play. They find ways of playing against you, and you don't do so well. That's what normally happens. And he had the problem that Raul Jimenez was injured, etc. So, but again, what's going to happen after the first 5 or 6 games if we haven't done well and we're near the bottom for whatever, because we've got a hard first few games. We're playing Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. If we happen to lose those games and we're down the bottom, can you imagine the pressure on this guy that's going to be?
It's unbelievable pressure.
It's unbelievable. So, this is really it's going to be difficult for him.
Can I ask a question though? If we had brought Conte in and we had still lost against City, Chelsea, Arsenal in the opening 5-6 fixtures, would there not be pressure on him too?
No, because he's a proven winner. He's won 5 titles in 7 years.
We would be calling for blood. I'm sorry. We would be.
No, I'm sorry. I think
if he hasn't won one of those 3 matches there.
Conte wouldn't have lost all of those.
No, secondly,
Conte would be given some time.
And he wouldn't know how to win those matches. You would assume.
He wouldn't lose them. Let's put it this way. He might not win them, but he wouldn't lose them.
But Jam, Conte's already answered that question for you, because he looked at that fixtures and said, I can't win these, I ain't going.
Yeah, it's true. That's the end of the day. So the answer has already been answered for us. This team is not going to do anything next season. It's going to be crap. We're going to have a tough season.
Hilarious.
We all know this.
But the question that you asked, Ray, which is a really important one, is will we give this man time, and will he be able to survive that? I think what my reading of this is, and from everything we're all saying here, is that we're already dumbing down expectations. So we don't expect to win the first 5 games. If he does win the first 5 games, then wow, we'll be up here on the same stream saying fantastic hiring, brilliant. If he loses all the first 5 games, we'll say, well, we knew we were going to lose them anyway. So we've dumbed down our expectations so much that he can't fail any more than all of us expect him to fail. Hence, he'll be a success, because he can't be as bad as we think he's going to be. And so that's what I think Levy is banking on the fact that no one expects us to do absolutely anything. So if he does something, that in itself would be a positive. Yeah. I know it's a very weird and negative way of looking at it, but you see what point I'm trying to make.
That's true.
Yep. Let's final points now from you guys. What's your hopes and fears for the future? He's in charge now. Going to take pre-season on Monday. We wish him the best.
I mean, I think
back.
Just Ray, let me just say. I mean, we've been talking about signing this guy from Japan, Tomoyaki. What's it? Anyone remember say his name properly?
I can't say his name properly, but I've seen him. He's actually really decent.
I mean, really
Tomoyasu. I'm not sure yet.
Tomoyasu, and the point there is that we're signing Tomoyasu before we're getting a manager. Now the manager's here. I don't know what's going to happen. We're also looking at a striker from Fiorentina. We've been linked with a number of players. But interestingly, Ray, Sanchez, Dyer, all these players haven't been linked with anybody. And
They're
all
going to
the
report
players,
to pre-season training on Monday.
all these players. Well, Sanchez still play with Colombia,
Colombia.
so
But before we close it, I want to get your views. What's happening with Harry Kane? Let's go with Jam first. What's going to happen to Harry Kane? Where's he going to be playing the first day of next season?
What do you mean, soon to be Euro 2020 Golden Boot winner?
I hope so, yeah. That's the guy, yeah.
No. What's happening with Harry Kane?
What do you
I
think
don't
is
know.
going to happen?
I don't
Where's
know.
he
What
gonna
do
go?
I think? Hoping he's. I don't know. I want to say I hope he stays with us, but it's for the same time, for the sake of that poor guy, he should definitely not stay with us. You know, I really do.
Apparently, on Nuno's interest to convince Kane to stay. Is he the guy to convince Kane to stay?
Of course he's not. Of course he's not. That's ridiculous. Like, if there's anyone who's going to convince him, potentially, it's going to be, Paratici or Levy himself, which if they came and talked to me, I'd be like, all right, well, that's it. I'm going. But no, I mean, unless they offer him like 300,000 a week, then he's got no reason to stay. He should be gone.
Let me ask you a
And that's
question.
unfortunate.
If England win the Euros, as we hope, so he's won something, he's got a medal, is he still that desire to leave and win something, or do you think he still wants to go?
I think the whole farce of him winning something and being deserving to win something. I mean, we've been there. We've been in, given him the opportunities to win it. Just because he goes to another club, it's not going to be a victory he's won. It's going to be a victory whoever his manager or his team around him have won. So I don't feel like that argument is ever valid. Unless he's like Maradona, single-handedly carrying a team to a World Cup, then that's a whole different story. Then you really are a different legend. But he's a good player. He wants to win. He wants to earn more money. He wants to earn more money. He wants to have some titles with his name. And that's about it at the end of the day. And I think he's probably going to end up at Man City.
I'm going to agree with Jem there, because I think that the appointment of Nuno tells us that they've already decided that Kane's leaving. Mm-hmm. It's basically the bottom line. There is no way you bring in a talismanic manager that's going to convince your best player to stay and call that person Nuno Espirito Santos. What you're saying to him is, you're gone. Let's get the money. Nuno and Mendes and Paratici, see how you can spend it to bring in other players. See if you can do what you did at Wolves, which is uncover some good talent, young talent, Portuguese talent or whatever, and see if we can do that. But it's very clear the signing of Nuno as manager is saying goodbye to Kane.
Let me ask you a question, Cam. You might know, Jam, you might know. How much did the agents, what percentage of the overall fee do they get? Do you know?
Well,
roughly,
it
is it
depends
5%?
what they negotiate. It can be up
But
to
normally,
10%.
what is it typically?
It's going to be between 5 and 10%, I believe.
Let's say he gets 5%. If we get 120 million for Kane, we spend maybe 100 million. This guy Mendes is looking at £5 million, 6 or 7 million euros,
Kane's
which is what he's going to get.
agent is his brother.
Yeah, so all of that stuff is going to go towards his players. So it's becoming very incestuous at Tottenham. I'm surprised Daniel Levy's allowed this to happen, because he wants to keep control. What do you think's happened there, Jam? Why has he allowed this to happen?
I think because he's lost reign. He really has lost control. The stadium got built, things were looking good. We just got to a Champions League final, and then it all collapsed in front of him. He let the best manager we've had since Bill Nicholson just go slip through his fingers, because he never backed him up. And then the fan base turned on him because he had done so much. He'd done so much damage, but he did so much well to reach to a point where the fan base were like, all right, Daniel Levy might actually care about us, might actually care about this club and its future, with the stadium building, the training ground, the fact that it looked like we were on an upswing. And then he messed it all up. He doesn't care about us. He has proved that time and time and again. And so now he wants to wash his hands of it. He's still gonna make the same amount of money he was making, whether we're doing well or badly. But now he doesn't have to take all the blame every single time.
That's what I'm thinking. He's giving it to Paratici and these guys. Let them screw it up, and then, well, it's nothing to do with me. I'd appointed director of football. He appointed the manager. You have a go at him, guys. Don't have a go at me. That's what Levy
Doesn't work.
That's what he's going to say, though, isn't it, Cam?
I just think that there is a act of severe desperation behind the scenes. I mean, there were so many opportunities. What I still can't understand, right, in Jam, is if we were that desperate, why the hell didn't we just give Klinsmann an opportunity? He's managed big clubs, he's managed countries, he's a Spurs player, he's a Spurs legend. You know,
his manager is not Jorge Mendes. That's the problem. Paratici wanted somebody who's Mendes.
Exactly. But we as fans will think, well, if we were going to go down that route of finding somebody that has got some links to our club that might not be one of the best managers in the world, but maybe we could get behind, I would much easier get behind Klinsmann than I would with Nuno. I'm sorry to have to tell you. Much easier. And he was available. He wanted the job. He actually wanted the only person who came out and said, yep, I'm waiting for that phone call. He actually wanted to be Spurs manager, loves the club and wanted to be there, but we didn't go down that road. So to me, this is desperation. This is absolutely handing over, Levy very, very scared for his own position. And I think it's going to backfire. Please prove me wrong.
Yep. Final thoughts, Jam?
Final thought is very clearly we've hired Nuno for a 2-year contract, so that as soon as Pochettino is free, we're going to come snap him right back up. that's my.
That's short but sweet, yeah. Cam, final thoughts?
I think Pochettino is just about to sign 5 new players for PSG. Yes, of course he wants to come back to Tottenham.
Of course he does. It's a Tottenham through and through.
My final thought is that I think that the first 10 games of the season, we will probably be below mid-table. There'll be a lot of angst going around. We may pick up around later on in the year, and it all comes down to who we sell and who we buy. If Kane goes, he gets 120 million or whatever, and the sale of other players that gets up to 200 million to buy some young Portuguese talent and a quarter of the Wolves team. We may get back to 5th or 6th, but that's a big if.
Yeah, and the thing is he going to be given all that money by Daniel Levy? I doubt it very much. I mean, I hope, as I said to you before, I wish nothing but good for Nuno. I hope he's successful because we support the club. But I think it's a desperation appointment from Daniel Levy. His last throw of the dice. And as I said, he's delegated everything to these guys. And if it goes wrong, we'll blame them. Don't blame me. I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, guys, this is Ray from Spurs 95.1. Thank you. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next podcast. Cam?
Cam from Spurs 95.01. It's nice to be talking about Spurs again. So I'll just wrap up by saying, come on, you Spurs, and come on, England.
Yep.
Jam
from Connecticut. As always, happy to be back talking about Spurs. Come on, Nuno's Lily White Army.
Yep. Come on, Nuno's Lily White Army. Before we go, quick prediction for England-Ukraine, Cam.
We just got to blow them out of the water. I would say 3-1 to England, easy. So, hoping Kane gets a couple of goals and Sterling carries on doing some Sterling work. But if we can't beat Ukraine, we don't even deserve to be there. I see a clear route to the final. Denmark and England.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, mate. This is typical England, you know.
That is typical.
Let's just get the next game out. Jam?
Yeah, no, Ukraine. Prediction? I hope we. I don't want to get too over complacent, and I'm sure the players themselves won't get over complacent because Ukraine played well in their last match and got lucky, I think, to get through. So I'm hoping we beat them well. Good 2-0. That'll be nice, satisfying. Sterling's been fantastic, and I hope that continues. Grealish should start, and I really enjoyed. I just want to comment on that back three that we saw last time from England. I thought that was phenomenal. I thought that was excellent managing.
Just to add, can I just add one last thing about that? I mean, the way that Ukraine play by standing off the players so far back, it's an ideal game for Grealish. And if he doesn't start, it'll be ridiculous.
Yep. I think it's going to be 2-0 and then probably going to play Denmark in the semis. But I'm not going to go there yet. I think we should beat.
We'll hold our horses.
Yeah. I will say one thing. This is the biggest opportunity we're ever going to have to win a tournament. If we don't win it now, then I don't think we can ever win it, but there you go. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate that, guys. Remember, all our fans, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you very much.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Spurs 95.01 podcast. Stay in touch, continue the debate, and let us know what you want to discuss by finding us on YouTube. Tune in after the next match day for more insight. Thanks for listening.